Hi, I'm Sue, the potter behind Blank Earth. I make tableware and specialise in traditional techniques of making clay. One of these is what I'm going to be showing you today. It's called Kurinuki and is a Japanese technique of carving clay. Its translation is to hollow out, and that's exactly what it is. So you hollow out from a lump of clay, slowly revealing the final form. So today we're going to be making a Kurinuki Yunomi. Yunomi is a traditional Japanese handless teacup and is a perfect starting point for this process for beginners. So what you'll need for the workshop, most importantly, some clay. Here I've got about 1 kg of clay. This is stoneware, so you need a kiln to fire it. But if you don't have access to a kiln, you can use air dry clay. But just be aware, with air dry clay, you can't use it for anything that you eat and drink out of. But it'll be lovely just for a decorative piece to store stuff in. Also, just a piece of cardboard. This has just been cut out of a box so that you can move your piece of clay around. Then digging tools. So here I have pottery loop tools, which are very common pottery tools. But if you don't have those, you can just use a kitchen spoon. This is to dig the clay from the inside. And for the decorative outside carvings, I like to use these polyfiller knives, which are available from any DIY store. You can also use a safe kitchen knife to do the outside carvings, and also just some water and a sponge. You can just use any old sponge for this. So the first step of Kurinuki is to hollow out your lump of clay. So you want to do this while the clay is pretty soft, so it's easier on your wrists. So this is clay that you can easily push your finger into. As I said before, you can use a spoon to hollow out, so we'll start doing that. But it's slightly easier if you have the pottery loop tools, because the clay can easily, the loop tool can easily cut through the clay. So you just go around in circular motions, removing a disc of clay as you go. You're looking for around 2 centimeters thick walls. You can measure the base, how far you've gone down, just by putting your tool down to the bottom and then taking it out. And as you can see, I've got about this much from the bottom. So I'll just go a bit further, but I'm close to where I want to be. You can also just slowly bring the tool up the sides just to clean up the walls so that they're straight. So you just want to smooth out the inside, but don't worry too much at this stage because we'll come back and refine the form later on. And the first step's done, so we're going to leave this guy to dry out so that when we carve the outside, he's a little bit harder so we can get nice, clean, decorative cuts. So now we've left our cup to dry out and it's firmed up, so what you're looking for here is to be able to push it with your finger and not really make a dent, but still be able to make a mark with your nail. So we know this is good for carving. So we're going to carve the outside using these DIY tools or just any knives you have in your kitchen. So let's get started. So here I'm doing a style of carving which is more angular, kind of brutal cuts, similar to a Rocky Mountain face. So here you can see that we've got a very nice flat edge, and then where the clay has ripped, it's given some nice texture. So we're just going to go around randomly doing these types of facets to the outside. So we're still able to get very nice rips with the knife as well. And I think while we're doing this, it's just good to have fun with it. Don't think about it too much. You want these to look kind of more organic and random, like a Rocky Mountain face would be. So just feel the clay, go with the flow, and see what kind of interesting textures you can produce. Oh, that was a cool one. So why we leave the walls quite thick before we do this is that so that when we come to facet the outside, we're not really in danger of going through the wall. If the wall was too thin, it'd be easy for when we're doing these quite deep cuts to actually make a hole in the wall, which is not what we want, unless you want to use it as a decorative item, but if it's holding fluid, it's not great. So now we're going to carve the bottom. This is called the foot. And what I like to do first is kind of go around the edge, making a nice circle. what I'm going to do is switch to one of these potter's loop tools, or you can also use a knife to do this, to just cut out a rim at the bottom. So what we're looking for is a kind of a ring at the bottom, so that it sits quite stably on your table. So we're just going to remove some of the weight outside on the edge. And what we'll do is just sponge it off to smooth it out. And to make sure it's flat, what you can do is just bang it on a hard surface. So we have cardboard here, so it's better to bang it on a tabletop, just to flatten out your foot. So now that we've carved the foot, we've flipped the cup back over and are going to finish off the inside. So I'm looking to remove some of the excess clay out of the inside and making the walls a bit thinner so that your cup isn't too heavy. And then we'll also carve around the rim to thin that out so it's a nice experience to drink out of. Okay, so now that we're happy with the inside, what I'll do is just go around the rim, thinning that out. So just take off first these big chunks at the top. And then you can just go around gently thinning this area out. And then go on the top and just do the same, but just on the top of the rim. And then also on the inside. So now that we've just thinned out the area, it's just nice to clean up the edges with a sponge, so just smoothing over any of the roughness. And then also just take it inside as well, just smoothing out any of the rough edges you have there. There you have it, finished piece. I'll just take you in a bit closer to have a look. So that's the final You Know Me. So the next step is to either get it fired in a kiln if you're using stoneware clay, but if you're using air dry clay, then just let it dry, but just remember that you can't use it for food or drink. And just the most important thing to remember with this technique is experiment with different textures and carvings and really just have fun with it and see what you can come up with. So I'll be around if you have any questions on the process. I'll be happy to answer them. But anyway, happy pottering!